Last year, to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Pokemon video games, I went down a list of every Pokemon movie and special produced. No more Pokemon movies, and a darn need to marathon something. I figured I'd take my shot at another film franchise, and while your first thought might be for me to try the Digimon films, I have to say no. I have much larger ideas, and as you can tell from this title, my mind has shifted to the Marvel movies. So, for those of you who are still confused about the title of the video, I'm not just talking about the MCU movies or the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. I'm talking about every movie released using Marvel characters. And oh boy, that's a lot of movies. But let's start with the obvious first. I will not be going over the Netflix series or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. during this marathon. Maybe they can be added on later, but at present I have no plans for them. Mainly because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is still an ongoing series, and I kind of want to wait and see where the Netflix shows are all going with Defenders. Secondly, I will only be going over the live action movies. That means no animated fare. With one exception we'll get to when we get to it. None of the short films, which are all the DVD bonuses for the Marvel movies, or the made-for-TV movies, which cancels out a lot of crappy movies, let me tell you. And third, I will be doing no movie older than 1998. As to why, well, we're all agreed that they're unanimously bad, right? I mean, you got the Captain America movies, which, yeah, are made for TV. You got the Roger Corman Fantastic Four, which never was released, so does it count or not? You have Howard the Duck, which, yeah, that's really bad. Lucas screwed up with that one. But in return, I will be doing a few Marvel imprint movies. Basically, Marvel movies that aren't really Marvel movies, but they're based on comics that were imprinted by by Marvel as a company. So they technically qualify as Marvel movies, but not really. That still leaves close to 50 movies to do for this marathon, and oh boy, this is going to be a long one, so let's get started with Blade. Blade was released on August 21st, 1998. While Captain America, not the one you're thinking of, is the first Marvel film, this is one of the first ones to make it big. And this one is heralded as one of the 1-2 punch that brought back the superhero movie boom after it kind of died off after Batman and Robin for obvious reasons. And honestly, it makes a bit of sense in that the 90s comics were all hardcore, edgy, and the comic book movies were seen as childish and campy and only kid stuff, but Blade and Tim Burton's Batman were again one of the two movies to change everyone's opinion and bring back comic book movies to the modern light. Even if that light was the light of 90s comics, which again weren't very good. So let's get started on that plot. Blade is a vampire halfling who wants to get revenge for his mother, who died after a vampire attack while pregnant with him, and with the aid of his mentor, Whistler, they hunt down the Dens of the Dark in order to protect humanity. Hematologist, for those of you who don't know, they do research on blood, Karen Jensen, gets involved after one of Blade's victims ends up not so dead and nearly attacks her after the rather incredible nightclub scene. At the same time, a vampire known as Deacon Frost begins his plans to start a human-vampire war in order to put the vampires on top of the world by summoning an ancient vampire god. After Karen discovers a way to cure the vampires, making herself more of a target, it's up to Blade to save the world and stop the vampire uprising. So let's get the first thing out of the way. This movie is alright. Not really good, great, but it's watchable. The story is nothing too great, with the plot and characters being very simple, and Blade himself not being the most charismatic of heroes. But the movie does look good. The action scenes are great, especially that nightclub rave scene at the very beginning, which is just, oh dear God, and the final fight at the very end. The main villain is also pretty basic. Even the name Deacon Frost just sets him up as another generic bad guy. The only real interesting thing he does is kill the elder vampires for his war effort. But aside from that, he's your standard villain fare. And oh boy, you can tell this movie was made in the 90s, just from the style and the main character alone. The whole movie doesn't have the timeless feel. This movie has so much 90s cheese, it's like it's forcing itself to try to be cool. But that works in this movie's favor. It's unabashedly 90s, and that's what kind of makes it interesting. Sort of like the original Matrix movie, in a way, with all the black leather and crap. So overall, this movie is okay. It's not great, and No, it's not the slightest thing to being a classic, but it's a good watch and something enjoyable if you're ever missing 90s cheese. Just pop in and you'll be right there. So, yeah, it's a decent film with some really good action scenes. What more can you ask out of a 90s comic book movie?